Hello mga ka-learners! Welcome to Solar Learning. Siguro po napapanood natin o naririnig ang mga balita. Walang lumilipas na linggo na walang balita na may kinalaman sa droga at sa mga taong gumagamit o nagbebenta nito. It is very important that everyone is aware of this information. Luckily, we have two modules for addictive and dangerous drugs. Ang una ay tungkol sa mga epekto ng drug abuse at ang pangalawa ay tungkol sa pag-iwas sa paggamit na nakapipinsala sa sarili at komunidad. In this lesson, we will, number 1, define the terms addictive and dangerous drugs, drug use, and drug abuse. Number 2, identify and classify the different kinds of addictive and dangerous drugs. And number 3, describe how the different kinds of addictive and dangerous drugs are used. Most people don't think of themselves as drug takers, but we all use drugs in one form or another at certain times. Alcoholic drinks, cigarettes, paracetamol, aspirin, cough syrup, and antibiotics are all examples of drugs or substances containing drugs. Think about the drugs you and other members of your family use. Are you aware that some of these drugs are addictive or dangerous if not used correctly? Let's first define the important terms. Drugs are substances other than food or water that are intended to be taken or administered for the purpose of altering, sustaining, or controlling the recipient's physical, mental, or emotional state. They include the medicine we take when we are sick, such as paracetamol for headaches, antibiotics for bacterial infections and diarrhea, antipyretics for fever, and others. Some plants naturally contain addictive substances, like tobacco, which contains nicotine. Other drugs, on the other hand, are manufactured, like alcohol, aspirin, or tranquilizers. Addictive and dangerous drugs are drugs, whether natural or synthetic, with the physiological effects of narcotics, stimulants, depressants, or hallucinogens. Drug use is the moderate and controlled use of drugs for purposes of altering one's personal state. When we take medicine to cure headaches, fevers, colds, and other common illnesses, this is already considered as drug use. Drug abuse is the practice of using any drug for purposes other than those for which it is normally intended, or in a manner or quantity other than directed or prescribed. Dahil sa abuso, nagiging pinsala ang paggamit ng droga. Drugs can be classified into 4 different major types of categories. These are narcotics, depressants or sedatives, stimulants, and hallucinogens. How will we know what drugs belong to each classification? A narcotic is a drug which causes numbness and drowsiness and eventually unconsciousness. It relieves pain and produces a temporary sense of well-being. Opium, morphine, and heroin are examples of narcotics. Here are some details about narcotics, such as some examples, how it is used, and the duration of its effects. Depressants or sedatives are drugs which may reduce anxiety and excitement. Alcohol is said to be one example of this type of drug. Let's see some details about depressants. Hallucinogens are also called psychedelics. They alter, often increase a person's perception of color, sound, and others. They also create hallucinations. LSD, marijuana, and ecstasy are examples of hallucinogens. Some examples of hallucinogens are these. Stimulants are drugs which increase alertness, excitement, activity, or interest. Caffeine, nicotine, and amphetamines such as shabu, cigarettes, and tobacco are examples of this type of drug. Here are some stimulants. Let's check what we learned about drugs and their types. Identify if the statement is correct. Number 1. Marijuana, also known as Mary Jane, is a narcotic. False. Marijuana is a hallucinogen. Number 2. Alcoholic beverages such as beer, wine, and liquor are classified as downers. This statement is correct. Number 3. People use narcotics to feel extremely happy. False. Narcotics provide numb comfort. Number 4. Cigarettes and tobacco are classified as stimulants. These products can make a person feel relaxed. False. Stimulants increase alertness and physical disposition. Depressants slow down body processes and make the person feel relaxed. Number 5. Methamphetamine hydrochloride or shabu is the most common hallucinogen in the Philippines. False. Shabu is a stimulant and not a hallucinogen. Number 6. Ecstasy, which is commonly used by young people, is classified as a stimulant. False. Ecstasy is a hallucinogen. Number 7. Hallucinogens are addictive and dangerous drugs that cause heightened perception in a person. True. Number 8. Caffeine, which is present in coffee and soft drinks, is classified as a stimulant. True. Number 9. Coke is another term for opium. False. Coke is another term for cocaine. Number 10. A person uses cocaine by injecting it into himself or herself. True. How did you do? Great! Let's summarize what we have learned so far. Drugs are substances other than food or water that are intended to be taken or administered for the purpose of altering, sustaining, or controlling the recipient's physical, mental, or emotional state. Addictive and dangerous drugs are drugs, whether natural or synthetic, with the physiological effects of narcotics, stimulants, depressants, or hallucinogens. Drug use involves the moderate use of drugs for purposes of altering one's personal state. Drug abuse is the practice of using any drug for purposes other than those for which it is normally intended, or in a manner or quantity other than directed. Abuse makes it dangerous not just for you, but for your family too. The different types of drugs are narcotics, depressants, stimulants, and hallucinogens. Narcotic is a drug which causes numbness and drowsiness, and eventually unconsciousness. Depressants or sedatives are drugs which reduce anxiety and excitement. Stimulants are drugs which increase alertness, excitement, activity, or interest. Hallucinogens are also called psychedelics. They affect sensation, thinking, self-awareness, and emotion. There it is, mga ka-learners. Alam na natin ang tama at paano makilala ang hindi dapat abusuhin. In the next lesson, we will dive into tobacco and alcohol. Are they classified as dangerous drugs? Tune in to find out.